it anyway.
Yeah, I will. Okay, so welcome to Kathy and Olive. It's nice to have you both, and welcome to Imelda, who is going to talk to us today about uncertainty mostly, and ways in which we can deal with that. So it's a very fortuitous day to be talking about such a topic, and so I'm really delighted. Imelda is based down in Christchurch, and we were saying earlier that's the Cork and Kerry show, and Imelda, I'm going to hand over to you now, and maybe you could start with just telling us, who you are and where you've come from and what's led to your expertise in this area.
Okay, thank you, Helen. My name is Imelda, and I hail from the Kingdom of Kerry, from a town outside of Killarney. We're just 8 to 10 kilometres. I grew up in a farm, 9 children in the family, 8 girls and 1 boy, a typical Irish family, and I come number 6. Moved to New Zealand 8 years ago with my husband. I have 3 sons. And yeah, I work as a coach with Healthy Minds with my business partner, Rebecca. We set up the company about 5 years ago, helping people in change, really from where they're at to where they want to go. We notice people know logically what to do, but it's just teaching them the tools and the techniques to get them there. People can appear to be quite positive and put a smile on their face, but they don't feel it inside. So we work a lot with emotions and negative beliefs, people that are believing stuff about themselves that are just not true. So we absolutely love what we do, and it's a great privilege to hear people's stories and to see them blossoming and changing as they go through their journey.
Yeah. So maybe, you could maybe start by just telling us maybe when you've had some uncertainty in your own life and how you've kind of navigated your way through that. That's, led to some of the thinking that you have today.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Helen. Well, let me take you back to a morning in mid-December in 2011 in Puerto Rico, in one of the Canary Islands, Spain. It was day 5 of our holiday. We were walking along the coastline, listening to the waves crashing against the ocean, the sun sparkling, the warmth in the skin. And myself and my husband, who we were married for 24 years at that stage, we're still married, up to 33 now.
Wow,
the
congratulations.
Good Irish number. People keep asking us, what was it? Walking along the coastline and just having a heavy feeling in my heart. And my husband turned to me and he said, what's wrong? And usually when I'm quiet, I'm not that quiet, as you may guess. It would be, he could have done something wrong that he would have been oblivious to, so I could be in a sulk, or there could be something else wrong. So being curious, said, what's up, what's wrong? I said, I don't want to go back to Ireland. I just do not take me anywhere else in the world. I do not want to go back to Ireland. I'm from a beautiful place, Killarney, with the lakes, with the jewels, a wonderful family and friends. And it was like, and my reasons, he didn't have to ask what my reasons were. He would have been well aware of what they were. And the reasons were 2 of our sons were living in Australia at the time. So even going back there, now you can quite feel the emotion coming
up. Absolutely. I can see it.
You can see it, like they were living in Australia, so they were, on their OEs, they call it here, but in Ireland it was just get out and go to Australia. My dad had passed away that June. Work had we'd been in the recession, and I would have been a very positive person. It's going to get better next year. It'll be better to turn around next year. We had the Celtic Tiger. We had invested in property, and the house was now worth about half of what we'd invested in. Yeah. And it was tied up with our home mortgage. So it was like, oh my goodness, we don't even own a house now when all this will be sorted. And yeah, my husband's company, he was a painter and decorator, and that company wasn't, it wasn't making any money. And we were losing money every month. Like really, it was costing us every month just to get by. And yeah, what do you do when you're in that situation? You book a Ryanair flight for €50 and an apartment for €195, and you go in, you forget about your problems for a while. It's just like, actually, I don't want to deal with this. I don't want to think about this. But actually, in having that freedom for those 5 days, and it was just the thought of going back in 2 days' time, facing into Christmas, and I was, I don't want to go. I just don't want to go back, and to better our options. I was 46 at the time, 45, just turned 46 in January. And my husband, 2 or 3 years older than me. We keep fighting about that, whether it's 2 or 3, depending on the time of year. It is that thing of where do we go at this age in our lives, Australia wasn't really an option because of our ages. So we said, look, what do you want? Where do you want to go? And I said, look, I want to go where we have sunshine. Ireland is just so grey. Look here where we are here, looking out at this ocean, a blue sky, and it's just beautiful. I want to be somewhere where I can go for walks like this every day. If I want to, I want to go where we can earn a living, where we can both earn a decent income. We're pretty skilled in what we do. I want to be somewhere where we can do that. I want to be somewhere where they speak English. I really wouldn't want to be in Spain. They don't speak, they don't understand me here. And I want somewhere that, our boys can come and live if they want to, that we can live as a family, earn a decent living and have a home. So it wasn't looking promising. That looked like, oh my goodness, that is like way up here. You are down here. There is no way you're going to get that. So we went back with a kind of a different perspective, of saying, okay, we look when we go back, and, it's putting out there what you want. And over the Christmas period, we looked at Sweden, and they don't speak English is not their first language, and I don't know Sweden. Canada is too cold there, it gets really cold there in the winter. I don't like the cold. So then we went on to Oz and kind of did look into the visas in Oz, and it was, it would just cost us too much for those visas. So we decided, if we kind of left it percolating away. So that was mid-December, mid-January, I was back at work. I was still working 3 days a week. And John phoned me and he said, would you move to New Zealand? He said, they're looking for tradespeople in New Zealand. We get a visa there and it wouldn't cost as much as the visas in Australia. And I said, New Zealand? I said, that's near Australia. It's really warm there. Yeah, I go to New Zealand. That sounds like a plan. Yeah, take me anywhere. I go to New Zealand. So on the 24th of May, we had the house was packed up, rented out, and we were on our way to Australia to spend 4 days with our sons before we moved to New Zealand. So people, and it has been a whole new life in New Zealand and all of that brings with it. But people often say, when did you decide to come to New Zealand? And I would say we decided that morning in Puerto Rico, when we decided what it is we wanted. We have everything. I didn't specify warmth. I specified the sun and the blue sky, but it's freezing here in winter.
I was going to say, you didn't pick the...
We arrived in June 2012 to snow, but the sun was still shining and the sky was still blue. So be careful when you're putting in that order. You specify what you want. Yeah.
I suppose just listening to you there, even, when you made that, you made a decision to change right when you were on your holiday. You did, even though you didn't actually know what you wanted down there. So how do you, so we want something different. So I suppose the decision at the time was we want something different than we currently have.
Yes.
So how do you go from that, that kind of, okay, we want something different, those pragmatic kind of steps, right? It's a slow process, isn't it?
It is. And I think the first step is deciding what you do want. And when people, we work a lot with the subconscious mind, and it's always listening to us. So when we put in what we do want, it's almost like a GPS. It'll get us there. There might be roadblocks in the way, but it'll detour us, and we'll still end up. If we have a GPS as to where we want to go, it will get us there eventually. It will find the steps and the doors will open. And when you have it in your insight, you will see the road signs, you will see the markers, But so many times we tell ourselves what we don't want.
Yeah.
And our subconscious mind cannot relate to that because it can't process the negative. And to give an example of that, if you just want to close your eyes for a moment, if anybody is watching and driving, don't do it. Yeah. But if you want to close your eyes for a moment and do not think of a pink elephant, do not, whatever you do, don't think of a pink elephant coming, have a little dance in the desk, open your eyes. You have to think of a pink elephant, in order to not think of it. So it's the subconscious mind, it's okay. So when we're telling ourselves, I don't want to be broke all the time, you know, and it's like, oh yeah, so you want to be broke. That's the message is getting, you want to be broke. Okay. So just by changing your language and saying, I want to live comfortably. I want to earn a decent living. I want us to live together as a family. You know, it is sending that message. Okay, I know what you want now. It's like, to explain it like putting a GPS, if you were to put into your GPS, we go to Nelson, you put in Nelson, you put in your address in Nelson. You don't put in, say, well, we're not going to the West Coast. We don't want to go to Southland. We don't want to go. The GPS still haven't a clue where you want to go. You know, it's just you're all over the place and your mind has nothing to focus on.
Yeah, it does. I mean, I guess then it's like what helps us to kind of cope with that uncertainty.
Yeah, I think it is sitting down and actually deciding what you do want. And at that time, I guess, what is it that I would have wanted? Like, what is it that allowed me to do that? I guess I always had a belief in trusting that what would have helped me in those years, because from 2005, we'll say, maybe 2005, 2006, 2007 were all right. 2008, the crash happened really. Back to 2011, it'll get better next year. Okay, we had some reserves and things like that, but then they were dwindling. So what is it? I guess I always trusted that it would be all right in the end. You know, that everything will work out in the end. So that was one of the things I'd say, oh, it'll be all right. Almost too much times at times because you're sticking your head in the sand, you know, so it is also being realistic. And I do love that Marigold Hotel, you know, there's a line in it, it'll be all right in the end. And if it's not all right, it's not the end. You know, so we'll get there in the end. To count our blessings, and that's like, I grew up with that, to count your blessings, be lucky with what you've got, you know, so really being grateful. And when things were getting really bad, it was, well, we're lucky because we have, you know, we have our health, we have our children have our health. Because when we're in that time of uncertainty, and what's underneath that is fear, really, to talk about the emotion, it's not possible to feel fear and gratitude at the same time. So if you bring around what you're grateful for, count your blessings. And sometimes our blessings, we were told, count your blessings. Your father didn't come in and see you doing that. You know, that's your blessings. Like, you know, just be grateful. And that really did help us in the worst times, to thinking, well, our boys are safe. They're well. You know, we have a roof over our head for now, for today. And the other thing, and I loved it, when you had said in your webinar, is to be where your feet are. You know, to being in that present moment. Years ago, I'd read that book by Curtin, The Power of Now. And it is, in this present moment, there is nothing wrong. You know, if we're in this present moment, coming back to the breath, no matter what the chaos is around you, just taking a few deep breaths, coming into now. And if you sit down and look around you, there is nothing wrong. Most of the time, there is nothing wrong. The uncertainty and the chaos is because we're worrying about the future. And guess what? The statistics are there. 99% of what we worry about don't come true. You know, so what are we worrying about? We are ruining today and what we have today, precious time we have with our children, to worrying, you know, or else we're ruminating about the past, about what have happened in the past and who have done this and who have done that, and that was said to me, and this is unfair, and the government is wrong, this is wrong, that is wrong. So just bringing yourself into the present. So I guess I had that base to do that, you know, at that time, definitely. So I think that's what really helped me around that time.
It is about having self-compassion, isn't it?
Yes, and self-forgiveness and giving yourself a break. I remember here going through a coaching session and feeling like so terrible about, like, we had owned property since we were 21 in London. We lived in London for a year and a half. We bought our first house there, and to find yourself at 46, almost, we're back at zero, you know, 48, we're back at zero, to find. And I remember working with a coach, and he said, I was saying, you know, how terrible I felt and how guilty I felt and all of that. And he said, oh, so it was your fault. And I said, what was my fault? He said, the financial crisis. It was you that caused it. You did that. And I was there, well, like, don't be ridiculous. But yeah, you're blaming yourself. You're taking all this on yourself because you invested in the property and you wanted a retirement fund and you wanted to live comfortably. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was a big eye opener for me in the way we talk to ourselves and the way we beat ourselves up. And that has been huge, learning to change that around.
Yeah.
And give yourself a break.
Yeah, it's I suppose that, you know, for many of us now in New Zealand today, you know, with the announcement that Auckland has now gone into, you know, level 3 lockdown and the rest of the country in level 2, there's been a huge amount of uncertainty and anxiety, I think, amongst all of those in New Zealand and, you know, and our Irish community as well, because we've been looking at home and seeing what's happening at home. And then, you know, so what, I suppose, Imelda, what kind of advice would you be giving to people? Like, you know, what kind of pragmatic things could they be thinking about now today as they go about their lives?
I guess it is going back into today, those things, you know, just going back into today. I do have some tools that I do want to share with you and techniques that we'll do, but yeah, we have time. So what can you do for today is just be today, as you had said, you know, being in the present, you know, be where your feet are right now. This is where you are. It is change what you can't change. You know, is that serenity prayer? I don't know if you're sure. Know it, you know, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change. What is it we cannot change? Just asking for that, whatever you believe in, a higher power or a God or in the universe or something greater inside yourself, you know, just asking for that serenity to accept what you cannot change. And the courage to change the things you can. What is it? And it do take courage to change, you know, and I can talk a little bit about that and the reasons we don't change and the wisdom to know the difference, you know. So if you just repeat that, okay, and when you unpick that, it is huge. You know, if you live your life by that, you would just, yeah, okay, what is it I need to change here? What is it I want to be different? And then it is not what I don't want, but what do I want? What is it you want? And we have reflected, and I guess about people, do I want to continue to live in New Zealand? Do I want to be in Ireland? It was fine when you go home every 2 years, you know, and having all of that guilt. Guilt is a wasted emotion. It really is. There is no place for it. You know, we work on releasing guilt with people, and that's self-forgiveness, as you talked about, self-compassion, self-forgiveness. Yeah, because we beat ourselves up. What people say to themselves, they wouldn't say to another human being.
Yeah.
You know, and it is actually, and people get shocked when we ask them, like, you're about, and what I'm talking about, and some people say I don't talk to myself. If you just said that to yourself, you're talking to yourself. So it is that thing of, we have about 70,000 thoughts a day. Are we aware of them? We're not aware of them. But it is, we've about 70,000 thoughts a day. We have 70% of those are negative, because that's a negative bias. We're automatically programmed to speak negatively. And then 95% of them are the same ones used yesterday. So it's the same stuff that's going round over and over and over again. Now, if you just imagine for a moment, you had speakers in your house and you had that stuff playing to you all day long, telling you, oh, you shouldn't have said that to her. Oh, what will they think of you? That's a terrible thing. Oh my goodness, how could you do that? You know, and then add that to a big screen on the wall of all those images. You know, and that is the same. You asked about anxiety. All anxiety is imagining something going wrong. Yeah. It is as simple as that. You know, people think that, oh, I'm anxious, I'm getting that. But if you break it down, what are you anxious about? What is it that you're anxious? What is it that I'm anxious all the time? I don't even know what I'm anxious about. It's learned. You know, they may have learned it from their parents. They may have learned it from wherever. But that is all it is. And when you break it down, find out what it is you're anxious about. And we will be doing it in one of the techniques, as in choosing your focus. What is the chances of it happening? And then what is the best possible outcome? What is the best? Because remember, 99% of your worries don't come true. Yeah.
It seems like, you know, that we're not very intelligent, actually.
I think we're super intelligent. I think we are so super intelligent. We don't give ourselves credit for all the intelligence that we do have. I think everybody has the answers within themselves, and everybody knows what's right for themselves. With a little bit of guidance sometimes, and sometimes they can do it for themselves. You know?
I think it's hard, isn't it, whenever you're living in a busy existence, and you're working and you're got commitments and family and all of those things, to actually make a moment to do that internal reflective process. It actually takes a bit of time. And I think that, like, just listening to you, the value of doing that it's really important. But it is making time for yourself to be still, isn't it?
Yes, it is. And you had asked earlier, and I said I'd come back to it, and that was about change. Why people don't change. Like, people know what to do. Like, there is so much information out there, you know what to do, and they're asking, why can't I do it? Why can't I study and finish the degree? Why can't I do this? Why can't I do that? There are 3 reasons why people don't reach their goals. The first one is they don't believe it's possible. They don't believe in themselves. They don't believe it's possible. And actually, sometimes it's not necessary, because as I was walking along that beach, in Puerto Rico, I didn't believe it was possible to get everything that I was asking for that day, So they don't believe it's possible. The second reason is it's not worth the effort. If you want to get fit, it's not actually worth the effort getting up in the morning and going out and having a run. It's just too hard for it. It's not worth it. The payoff isn't worth it. And the third reason is it's working for you in some way, the way life is at the moment. It's working for, and that can be very hard to hear for some people, that it's actually working for me. It might be, or it have worked for you in some time in the past, and now it's become a habit. So to explain it a bit better, it might be easy to explain it as a smoker. When they started smoking, it worked for them because they were the cool kids. They were the ones who went out the back, and they made lots of friends, and they were the rebels, and they were popular, Whereas now, 30 years later, it's no longer working for them, and they want to make changes. So that is what we would be working on with people who do want to make the changes. Making those changes.
And it's like, so I was listening to someone recently, and they're talking about mental fitness and about making a really small change, like a really, really small thing that you think is like so insignificant, but actually by doing that, so whether or not it's the gratitude, at the end of the night, the things you're grateful for, or for me, actually, it's about drinking more water.
Yes.
Something that I'm terrible at doing, but I have invested in a water bottle, and just doing that one thing, though, because that's good for me, and I found that really helpful, that thinking, because sometimes it can be so massive in your head, right? It can be, and it can be a barrier to you making a change. Like, how do you put down the heavy cup? How do you put down the emotional kind of laden guilt or whatever it is? It's hard to put it down sometimes.
Yeah, it is. So, do you want me to move on to?
I'd love you to. I would love it. And so, we talked earlier about you having some strategies that you're going to talk us through.
Some strategies that you can put through. Those other ones are really good. Trusting that it will work out in the end. 99% of your worries are just don't come true. So don't waste your time with those. Count your blessings, and use the supports you have and things like that, and being in the present. But on our website, Healthy Minds, we have a resource center, and you can just download these resources that I'm talking about, and you don't have to put in your details. They're just there for anybody to just go on and download it. The first one I want to talk to is about universal needs, and what this helps us to understand, to discover what are the needs and emotions that drives our everyday behavior. So we're talking about certainty and uncertainty. It's a little bit of a paradox, because we need both in our life. We need certainty for that stability, security, safety. So that is where our certainty comes. But if we had that all the time, boredom would set in. We also need, one of our basic universal needs is challenge. creativity, growth, hope, and spontaneity. You know, we need these in our life. These are our universal needs, and there must be 30 or 40 of them on the list there, and you can just download the list from the website. It comes actually from the Centre of Nonviolent Communication, and we've got their permission to use it. And then you have feelings when our needs are not satisfied. So whatever you're feeling in any one moment, like if we're feeling love and connect, it means that our need for connectivity is being met. You know, if we're feeling joy, you look at what's happening around you. Yeah, I'm with friendships, and I'm with, you know, so that need for security, it's a lot of needs are being met together. So then we have feelings when our needs are not satisfied, and that means that there's a need not being met. So if our need, we'll say fear, I'm guessing we can talk to fear today.
Yeah.
You know, when we're feeling dread, what is the need that's not being met? Is it the need for security, stability? You know, that's a need for safety, that need then for compassion. Then there is like anger. There can be a lot of anger and frustration because other people are following the rules. So what is it? What is the need? Is it compassion for ourselves or compassion for others? You know, we're the one with the feeling. It isn't the other people. If we're feeling angry, and there's a saying from Buddha, holding on to anger is like holding a hot coal and expecting it to burn the other person. You know, they're happy out in their own little world. So you're the one that needs to deal with that. So that's a really good resource if you want to sit with, actually, what am I feeling right now? And what is the cause of this feeling? What need is not being met? And how can I get that need met? You know, where am I safe? Where am I feeling safe? If it's a need for safety and security, where can I find that? All right. I mightn't be able to get it here in my work at the moment, but actually, perhaps I can get it with somebody, spending time with somebody, connecting with somebody, knowing that I'm being loved, knowing that I'm being that. So sending those needs into yourself or finding them in other areas of your life. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it totally makes sense. And I think that, you know, and I think I spoke about it as well. And when I was talking about grief and things that, you know, the community and having that sense of community and belonging is really important. And, you know, as an Irish community here in New Zealand, that helps us, you know, that helps that you have somebody who understands that. Like I even noticed last night on the Irish Mammies, you know, a lot of, you know, uncertainty and fear about, oh, what's going to happen now? But just having people there kind of going, it's okay, we're in it together, and you know, we look after the Auckland Mammies, and we look, you know, and we have our embassy support, and you know, we have this. So all of those things make us feel connected, and those, I think it's when you're not connected, when you don't know where to go, when you're feeling alone, that's where you can run into a few problems, right?
And I guess once you know what you're missing, you kind of can find us a little bit like, okay, so what I need not right now is connection. Where can I find that? And once the questions, and our minds, you know, we are intelligent beings, because once we start asking the question, our minds are fascinating, because they're like little detectives, and they will find it and they will send you, okay, so connect up to the Irish Mammies. There's lots of people there with you. They'll know exactly what you're going through. You know, go on to the embassy. They have a well-being section there. Go on, maybe there's something there I can hear. Go on to YouTube. You know, go on to, there are so many resources. We are so lucky in the world we live in, you know, that we have all of these resources at our fingertips. But it is a great start if you want to get to know yourself and get to know what is driving your feelings and your behaviors. So
it's a real good starting place to be.
It's a really good, to find out what are the needs and how am I feeling and what might be causing this feeling.
I think that would be really helpful.
So the next one I'm going to talk to you is about, that's called universal needs. This one is choose your focus. And this is for all of those people who are worrying out there. So I'd like to, if you have 5 minutes, just to maybe relax into this one and just imagine doing it. What I want you to do is I want you to think about something you're worried about, and then think about the worst case scenario and the best case scenario. So if you have something you're worried about, we can go with COVID, you know, if we want at the moment. So people are worried about that. People in Auckland, and then you have the rest of the country. How long will it be before we're all in this situation? So if they're not driving and if they can give this the time, if not, it's on the website and they can get somebody else to read it for them, or they can read it and close their eyes and take themselves through it. So just taking 1 or 2 deep breaths and just allowing the eyes to close. You can hold your hands with your palms facing upwards. And in one hand, put an image that represents the worst case scenario. And just describe all what is happening in this scenario. So this is all the stuff we've been telling ourselves, borders closed forever, when will we get it? It's just all that worst case scenario. And in the other hand, put an image to represent the best case scenario. And just describe what is happening in this scenario. It is that actually we'll be COVID free again in a short time. The borders will open up. There will be a vaccine found. You know, we will be able to travel and see our families again. Our families will be safe and well until we do see them again. You know, what is worst case scenario, best case scenario? Because when we're constantly thinking positively, we have to address the negative, and I'll talk a little bit about that. Yeah, so just the worst case scenario, best case scenario, and looking at both scenarios and acknowledging that each scenario is possible. The worst scenario, it is actually possible that this will go on for another 2, 3, 5 years. We have no idea. We didn't see it coming. It's worst case scenario. What is your very worst case scenario? Somebody at home belong to you that's very dear to you that you may not get home. What is the worst case scenario for you? Is it because you can't leave the country, you want to be with family? Just thinking of that worst case scenario, that is possible. And also looking at the positive, that is also possible. It is also possible that actually this will be gone in a short length of time, that there are very intelligent people out there looking for a vaccine. And some people may say, well, that's not the best case scenario for me because that's not what I want. You know, so it depends which camp you're in. What is the best case scenario for you? Don't matter about other people, that you can travel freely again and that you can see your family, or that you may wish to move to another country. What is the best case scenario for you? Go to the worst case scenario and list the advantages and disadvantages of putting your focus there. So that worst case scenario, what is it doing for you thinking like that? And to give you a few examples, it might be it's keeping you safe, it's preparing you, it's keeping your family safe, it's helping you to follow the guidelines, you know, and to get rid of this as soon as you can. So that's the advantages. The disadvantages, it might be keeping you awake at night, and it might be not allowing you to function healthily. So that's the disadvantages of that. On the positive side, the advantages can be, well, yeah, the advantages are everything opens up and I get to see my family and we get to travel and we have all of that security and stability back. But the disadvantages of thinking positively all the time is that you're not aware of the dangers. You know, you're not aware of when people are around you and they're sick and you're not taking the precautions. So looking at those and really spending a bit of time, because we're doing it in our head anyway, and this is bringing it out there, separating it out and helping you to think a little bit more clearer on it. So then looking at both on reflection, which scenario seems most likely? And you can give percentages to both. You know, so which scenario, your worst case scenario or your best case scenario, which seems more likely? And more often than not, it is the best case scenario. You know, if you have really built up the best case scenario, which seems more likely, and it may not be, you know, where you're sitting right now might be the worst case scenario. Which scenario do you choose to give your focus and attention to? Where do you want to be spending your focus, and how do you want to be spending your days, and what do you want to be thinking about? Do you want to be thinking about catastrophizing, creating fear in your body, which do create illness? I was reading a book recently, Dale Carnegie, who was in the 1890s, How to Stop Worrying and Start Living. And he had said, like, then doctors knew that illnesses was caused by emotions. That's an emotional illness. You know, there were people who were in hospital and said that's emotion. So all this fear causes illness in the body.
Mm.
So which do you want to be putting your focus on, that, or do you want to put your focus on the best case scenario? Okay, I am aware of the dangers, and I am aware that this can go on for some time, but actually I'm not choosing to think about that. I'm choosing to think about the best case scenario. And then, yeah, once you've decided to let go of the other way, whatever way makes sense to you. So just letting it go. So people like to put it behind them, so it's there to warn them and kind of, yeah, that's there. I can't be thinking positive and be Pollyanna about all of this. I do have this little warning thing. Other people decide, actually, I don't want to deal with that. Put it in the rubbish, burn it, put it away. I've got the learning from it. I don't need to be carrying that with me. And then by holding this scenario, you choose to focus with both hands and spend time noticing just what you see. It's like setting that GPS. What do you see? What do you hear? What do you feel? Imagining in a very short time being reunited with family, being reunited with friends, being able to travel freely, and what that's like. And it's almost like sending it out to the universe to say, this is what's needed. If everybody in the world did that, we'd be rid of COVID like that. You know, it would be sending it out, sending out that love and compassion and energy. We are so much energy beings. Yes.
We'll get you on the WHO advisory group.
I know. Just think positively, Les. Think positively.
A little bit of science in there.
And nothing else. If it don't work, at least you feel better for the next few weeks. You can go back and tell me that's a load of rubbish, but actually I did feel better while I was doing it, but still a load of rubbish. But no, it is very powerful because, as I mentioned earlier, we have these negative thoughts and they're there to protect us, and the Pollyanna effect can actually make us feel worse when we're not identifying, because when we're telling ourselves actually everything will be fine, you don't know that. There's the little voice in our head saying actually you don't know that to be true. By doing this, you can choose which one I'm going to focus on.
Yeah, I think that's really pragmatic, and you know, you're right. Like it mightn't be it might be the worst case scenario.
Yes.
But but actually looking at it, and it helps you to look at that differently, as you say, but also to be more present, I think.
Yes. Yeah.
And that, I think that is the thing, isn't it? And like everything that you're saying just makes complete sense. But it's in intentionally taking time to do those things.
Yes.
That helps your well-being.
Yes.
You actually need to sit down and do it. You need to invest in taking that, you know. I like that. I mean, that just makes complete sense to me when you're talking about, because it's the thing I worry about, you know, not seeing my family back in Ireland, and when will I see them, and thinking, oh, I'm never going to see them again. But I think that, you know, that's really helpful, though, Imelda, to do that.
Yeah. So that's a resource there. Choosing your focus. You can choose which one you want.
Yep.
Okay. So the next one I have is just to release stress out of the body.
Okay.
You know, I've talked about how that stress can affect our body and how it can affect our health. We are energy beings. So and you can notice it yourself. When you say something to yourself, just noticing the energy in your body. You know, when we judge somebody, when we blame somebody for something, just notice the energy in our body, as opposed to when we send out love and best wishes and good for everybody. It changes, like our body changes. So we are those energy beings, but we do feel the stress and the worry and the anxiety. And I think it's probably a lot of the work we do with people when they come and starting to feel. Because our emotions, when did we stop feeling? You know, when did we stop listening to our gut? You know, as we knew when we were born, you know, to cry when we needed food. And we didn't worry if that was at 2 o'clock in the morning and woke up the whole house. We did it anyway because we deserve to be fed. You know, we went with our feeling. If we were put into somebody's arms and we didn't know them, we kicked up a stink. We didn't want it, you know?
Yeah. We've just got a little message there from Kathy, just saying that that's a really wonderful technique, and that it would be really good if we could add it to the downloads of the website. But what we could do is we can put a link to your website on there, Imelda. That would be useful, wouldn't it? And because all of the resources are on your own, on the Healthy Minds
they're all
website.
their free resources. You can just download them. You don't need to be putting in any.
Oh, she found it. Well done, Kathy.
Great. Okay, so that's the one on choosing your focus. So are you ready to release some stress, people?
Oh God, yes, I'm very stressed. I'm feeling it already. Feeling the stress in the body. That alone gets rid of the stress. You do know that. So just noticing, and it do, as you said, it do take time and effort to sit and do these techniques. Yeah, you are right. And it isn't the doing we learn. We learn very little by actually reading this, but it is by doing and feeling you learn and you have the greatest impact. Just that it is by doing we learn. You teach midwifery and nurses. If you were to spend the whole time in the classroom, would they be good nurses at the end of it? Yeah, no.
No, they need that side, but they actually need to go in there and to learn. And I was talking to somebody the other day, and they were an engineer, and they said, I learned it all in college, but actually it wasn't until I went into my first job and started doing it. It was really when I started learning. Yeah. So it's the same with this. Yeah. So all of those people out there that's telling they're stressed and worried and panicked, just notice where you experience this. Usually stress centers in the head, the chest, or the stomach. Yeah, so just really experience it. Take time to experience it, welcome it, and let the feeling grow in intensity. Just let that feeling get stronger. And you can recognize it as a feeling triggered by a memory. In the same way it was created, a new association can be created in its place. And just imagine that there is a window in the area of stress. And open the window and just clench your fist. As you open the window, just imagine opening that window in your chest or your head or your stomach while clenching your fist. Now let a little amount of the stress out the window, and as you do, slightly release your fist. Continue to release small amounts out the window, at the same time gradually releasing your fist. Focus back on the feeling and noticing any changes.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing. I've been honestly. So I hold it all in here, like all in here. And so I was sitting there and I was like visualizing. Honest, that's fabulous. I'm going to be doing that a lot.
Great. You'll be so chilled at the end of this.
Yeah, exactly. I'm supposed to be facilitating. I'll be falling asleep.
Not at all. We can give you one for energy too. We give anchors for energy, where you can bring in that energy and focus and go, yes.
I loved that. I really loved that. I thought that was like really, really good. I hope those of you who are joining me there enjoy that too. I thought that was really, because sometimes I think that pinpointing where the stress is in your body is really hard. Like, where do I feel it? Everywhere.
Everywhere. What do you mean? You're telling me let it grow in intensity? I thought this was meant to let it go. What are you doing to me?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I loved that.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah, and so did Kathy. Thanks, Kathy.
Good. Yeah. So feel free to ask any questions, or if there's anything you need, or.
Yeah, so I think that we've looked at, haven't we, like, so the idea of the universal needs,
yes,
and then choosing your focus,
yes,
really helpful. And then what did we call the other one?
Release stress.
Releasing
Release
stress.
stress, yes.
They're really pragmatic kind of things that we can do
Yes.
that
Yeah.
don't take a huge amount of time.
Yeah.
And Olive found it very helpful. Thank you, Olive.
Yeah.
They, nobody needs to know that actually you're doing those
No,
things.
no, you can do, like, our minds are amazing,
Yeah.
and what we put our focus on is what we get. If we focus on the good stuff, and I'm not sure which happens first, but I do think the most important thing is start feeling it.
Yeah.
Is that when you're wanting something, is to imagine. Our imagination, like Albert Einstein said, imagination, intelligence, like it's the highest form of intelligence is imagination. Like really it is to using your imagination. So imagining it, but using all your senses when you're imagining to use what will I see, what will I hear, what will I feel, and where will I feel it in my body, and just imagining those times. And if you need connection, if you need safety, remembering times you had that,
Yeah.
and just bringing about that feeling, because our minds don't know what's real or not, which is really scary.
Countries are run by people who don't know that. And it is a bit worrying.
And that is really scary, because and to give you an explanation of that, is like you're watching a movie and you start crying and you're there, but you do know they're actors.
Yeah.
You do know it's not real,
Yeah.
but yet we are just so focused that our body is reacting to what we are hearing and what we're seeing. So if you're playing in your mind stuff like really sad times, and recalling sad times and telling about all the sad times and what a hard life you had, it's just brings about more of it in the body. Whereas if you say, okay, what is it that I do want? I know I want change, so what is it I do want? And putting your focus on what, imagining what that would be like, seeing what that would be like, hearing what it would be like, but most importantly, feeling. How will you be feeling when you've got that? Because then you recognize it when you get there.
Yeah. I think one of the things that certainly a lot of the Irish people that I know is that we can be very good at looking outward at other people and demonstrating empathy towards others.
Yes.
So we'll think there's something's happened to us and they say, well, sure, that's not as bad because look at that person.
Yes.
They have this and they have this and they have this.
Yes.
And that's true. But I think then that what stops you it stops you accepting that actually you might be hurt yourself.
Yes.
You need to deal with those things yourself as well. You can't be just going, well, they have it worse. Well, hold on. you too you need to have compassion for yourself,
Yes.
And that's the basis of, empathy for others, but being empathetic to yourself.
Yes. Yes, yeah. And it is that thing of having self-empathy. And when you talk about hurt, and we were reared with it. It could always be worse. No matter what happens, it could always be worse. Somebody dies, it could be worse. They could have died 5 years ago when their children were really young, and it was like, it could always be worse, and no matter what happened, if you came in with a cut in your finger, you could have cut the finger off yourself. You could have cut the hand off yourself. What were you doing? And just all of a sudden, the little cut in the finger was like, I'm lucky to have my finger. Thank you.
Thank you. But you don't, it's interesting because Olive made a comment there that type of behavior or that type of, I don't know, what do you call that? You'll have a technical word for it, I'm sure, Imelda, but that's been instilled to us through religion, education, and, family, I would say, and reinforced towards that. Stoicism or, and I think Stoicism is important because that's a basis of resilience. However, too much of it pushes you the other way, doesn't it?
It does. And I guess our mission in Healthy Minds is for people to have their mind as their best friend. Yeah. So if you wouldn't say it to your best friend, you're not allowed to say it to yourself. Yeah. Why would you talk to yourself like that? Yeah. You need you to be your champion. And the second thing that came to mind is that when we release hurt from the past, there is no need to feel hurt again in the future because we teach a no expectations approach. which is you have no expectations and you only do what you want to do with all of your heart and expect nothing back. If you don't want to do it, don't do it. And people are like, what? How is that even possible? But honestly, it is so freeing. We do so many things for other people and we're expecting gratitude. Why? Who asked you in the first place to do it? You know, and you hear like mothers and their children, oh, they're so ungrateful. I did this, this, and this, and this. Did your children ask you to? All you needed to do was actually feed them and clothe them and give them a safe place to sleep. That was the only requirement. You choose to buy the PlayStation. You choose to do it. Don't blame the kids for that, you know? So it is massive when people get it, but it can take a while to get the head around it. Only do what you want with all of your heart and expect nothing back. But you find you do more because, and you realize you want to do it because you get more pleasure in giving than you do in receiving. But there's a different energy with it because you're giving with all of your heart and expecting nothing back.
It's really fascinating. I'm doing taking part this week in a kindness it's an empathy challenge, it's a kindness challenge with Jamal Zaki. He's in Stanford University. He's a professor there about empathy. And our first task that we had to do was self-compassion. So day one was self-compassion, you know, spend some time, you know, like you just said, be your best friend, talk to yourself, you know, the narrative. And yesterday we had a big audit in the school and I felt a bit beaten up and I could feel I was getting into that narrative of, oh, you could have done better or you could have answered that. And I thought, oh, hold on. So I came down to my office, shut the door, turned the lights on, lay on the floor, put the 2 minutes of mindfulness, self-compassion on the thing. And I was like, okay, I'm all right now. That was just, you know, but it really interesting, you know, and then today is about, you know, doing something for others, doing something purposeful for others, not for anything, but just intentional. I think giving someone your time or something actually makes you feel better. You know,
it does, and you get the benefit of it, and you're doing it with all of your heart, and you're not expecting them to do it again the next day. And you realize that you're choosing, it's your choice, you're not having to do it, and it just changes the energy. It really changes the energy. We love it when we get to it. We do so many things for people, and expecting stuff back. You don't like, hurt is all about values. And we get hurt when we expect other people to do what we would do. And why would they? We've been all brought up in different households, different countries, different families. And even those brought up in the same family have had different life experiences in that family. So why would they react and do what we would do? So when you have no expectations, that's their values, that's where they're at. It's like, it takes the hurt out of it.
It feels so egocentric though.
Yes, it is, and that goes back to our religion and our upbringing, where we've been told to be nice to everybody and don't worry about yourself, and you're being vain and you're being this and you're being that. But actually, it comes back to loving yourself. You know, if I was to say what is the end game for us, we talked about the emotions we have. We've all these different emotions, but if you were to bring it down, we have just two emotions, and that is love or fear. We're operating in either love or fear. And every decision we make, we're either making it out of love or fear.
God.
We brush our teeth in the morning because we either love our smile or we're afraid of the dentist. We go out and exercise because we love the fresh air and we love running, or we're actually afraid of what will happen to us if we don't exercise.
We don't do it. Yeah.
Some people, and this is the scary part, get married because of the fear of being alone, or for the love of being with somebody for the rest of their life. So when you break it down, what am I choosing here? And when we choose love, the decision and the energy. If we brush our teeth in the morning, and I'm brushing my teeth because I love it. I'm out running because I love my body and I want to take care of it. I'm married for 33 years.
I was just going to say, because you love your husband.
I love my husband, you know, so what is it? Even though they might be, oh my goodness, what can I do without him? There can be fear there. But when you increase the love and bring down the you can't feel the two at the same time in the same
Mm.
intensity. One has to be above the other. So choose love.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. Like, really, people often think a lot of these things are just so complicated and so hard. And one of our values is simplicity. Another one is laughing and having fun. We
Yeah.
love to have fun and being down to earth, you know. So
Yeah.
that is where we're coming from.
Yeah.
And keep on learning. We're always learning. We're learning. We don't have all the answers.
Mm.
Actually, that is something that is great to be able to say, that actually we don't have all the answers.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
we know that everybody has the answers that they need for themselves. They
Yeah.
have the answers inside themselves, and we can help people to get those answers out
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
to help them to get what they need.
Mm. Well, I certainly think that you've certainly helped me in the last hour or so. It's been really lovely to talk to you, lovely to get to know you,
Yeah.
and to hear your story. And you know, it's a very relatable story that you've told about your life. Like, you know, I can see. I've been to Puerto Rico, so I can see visualize you on the beach, you know, in that moment of uncertainty, and you're inspirational to see, you know, that you have taken that step, you know, to come to Christchurch with your husband, and you know, and it's lovely to see you doing so well. And I know we spoke the other day, and your boys, two of your boys are here in New Zealand now.
Yeah, the three of them,
Partners.
they're all
The
here.
three of them, they're all
The three
here
of them
now.
are here, yes.
And should, you know, a small part of Kerry there down in Christchurch.
I know.
It's really, really lovely, and I'm very grateful that you've, you know, taken time today to talk to us. And Kathy agrees with me; she's learned so much, and very grateful. And we have this, you know, this is being recorded, and we'll put it up on the Wellbeing website. Fiona is, you know, curating all of that beautifully.
Yeah.
And I think that absolutely sharing some of those resources on your own Healthy Minds website is a really good thing to do. So it's been an absolute delight talking to you, and thank you to those of you who joined us. And we haven't had as many join us as we thought, but that's understandable because today is a day of complete uncertainty.
Yes, sure is a day of uncertainty.
Yeah.
And that is good too, because we need that. We need uncertainty. It is one of our basic human needs, is to have uncertainty, you know, to have that element of surprise, to have that element of spontaneity where we can learn and grow and go to the edge of our comfort zone where change happens.
Yeah, and thank you, Farron. Farron found it very useful as well. So thank you, Farron, for joining us.
Yeah.
And we'll put the link up on the website as soon as it's all downloaded and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So slán go fóill for now, and Guramina Mahagat, and stay safe, everybody. Yeah. This is how you cough. So goodbye, so everybody.
And thanks, Fiona. I really do appreciate the opportunity and the privilege of being asked to come and talk here today.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye. Take care. Bye.